The United States is experiencing a political revolution, not one against the president, but one being led by the president. That's according to the Eurasia Group, who've laid out their top global risk factors for 2026. The ripple effects of the political changes in the United States have led to some of the other top risks, including the Don Roe doctrine playing out in Venezuela and the USMCA with implications for Canada. Topping that list is U.S. political revolution, with President Donald Trump attempting to dismantle the checks on his power and capture the machinery of the U.S. government. For more on all of this, I'm joined by the author of that report. Ian Bremmer is the president of the Eurasia Group. Ian Bremmer, good to see you again. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the show.
Happy to be with you again.
We talk about political revolution, and it's to change the person at the top, typically. But you're talking about a political revolution where the person at the top is trying to change the country. Why is this the number one risk for 2026?
Because the United States is the most powerful country in the world, and it's going through a period of unprecedented political transformation. We have not seen or experienced a president trying to make changes like this since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So we made the comparison in the report. And FDR tried to pack the Supreme Court. He failed. He tried to purge his own Democratic Party. He failed. He did transform the country with the New Deal and expanded authority of the executive dramatically, but did it within the existing system, within the existing norms and checks and balances. Trump is transforming the system, or trying to destroy the norms and checks and balances, because he believes, whether or not you agree, he believes that the Democrats weaponized the political system against him, leading to the impeachments and the convictions and the near assassination. And so he feels like he must weaponize the political system against them. And that means politicizing the power ministries, Department of Justice, the FBI, loyal to him, not anybody else. It means controlling the administrative state directly. And it means no more checks and balances on the president. That is unprecedented in U.S. history.
You talk about the comparison with FDR. The court, I think you could argue, has largely been stacked, not completely, but there's a majority there that Trump played a direct role in. The party has almost certainly been purged of non-loyalists at this point, when you look at how Congress, for example, has sort of been captured by the MAGA movement. I mean, where do you see this going over the course of the year? Because as you pointed out with the FBI, it's like experts replaced by loyalists. It's many of the apparatus of the state are loyal to a singular person rather than, say, the Constitution and the founding principles of the country.
Well, if you look at all of the things that Trump has done just in his first year, in terms of both breaking norms and attempting to break existing constraints on the executive, legal and institutional constraints, they've been far greater than any observer had expected a year ago. And the restraints have been more spotty and less capable than people thought a year ago. And we think that that is clearly going to continue through the midterm elections and up until 2028. Having said that, even though the political revolution is clearly underway and we don't know what the outcome will be, if you made me bet, I think he will fail. And I think he will fail for three reasons. First, because he's likely to lose the House in the midterms, and that lack of popularity has the potential to start to fragment some of the Republican supporters off from him as he feels like more of a lame duck. That's the least important reason, but it's one. A more important reason is that there still are constraints, not coming from the business community or the banks, not coming from the media, not coming from his own party, certainly not coming from Congress, but coming from the judges and the judiciary and the jury system, coming from the professionalized military still, and also coming from the federal system, from the governors, from the mayors. And of course, it's the states that control the electoral system. That's number two. But the most important reason I think he's likely to fail is because he lacks discipline. It's because he actually is pretty incompetent when it comes to policy. He has a lot of political genius and a lot of impulses, but he lacks impulse control. Like, if you really wanted, if you really believed, as Trump says, that the principal enemy of the United States is the political opposition inside the U.S., you wouldn't be faffing about in Venezuela and Greenland. You'd be focusing all your effort and power in trying to destroy the Democrats. You'd be investigating them. You'd be trying to put them in jail. You'd be stopping the funding. You'd use the IRS. And Trump just doesn't have the discipline for that. And he won't listen to people around him with expertise because he's always right. And he's incredibly confident. He wants to be in the news and he wants to take that phone call. He loves the headlines. He wants a new headline, the next shiny object he's going to chase. So I just don't think he can get it done. And, at the end of the day, sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart.
But you draw some stark conclusions here saying that the U.S. can't be categorized as a representative democracy in 2026 and warning that many of the guardrails that held in Trump's first term are now buckling. We can no longer say with confidence what kind of a political system the United States will be when this revolution is over. That gives me chills when I think about where that could potentially go as, someone here in the suburbs of your country.
Yeah, indeed. I think that, look, there have been 3 major political and economic revolutions in my lifetime that have had global impact. The first, Deng Xiaoping in China, which was wildly successful, bringing China into the global marketplace, 50 years of unprecedented growth, and look at where China is today. Gorbachev, I witnessed that one personally. Political and economic revolution simultaneously completely failed. Wall came down, Soviet Union collapsed. Third, political revolution under Trump, and we don't know. We don't know. But we know that the reason for that political revolution is because so many Americans believe that the U.S. political system is already not a democracy. It's already not legitimate. When Trump said that the election was stolen against him with Joe Biden, you and I know it wasn't stolen, but people believe him. And not only do they believe him, they believe the system is rigged irrespective. And so they are willing to support someone that wants to break that system. And when you have 2 sets of people that think that the other are the enemy, when you have 2 sets of people that get their information from completely different sources and don't live in the same information architecture, then that's not a sustainable trajectory to keep your democracy. So I do think we're heading for crisis. I just think that ultimately we will get through that crisis. But there's no question that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, the information environment in the United States is something, well, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting just voted itself out of existence, for example, which is something we pay attention to here at the CBC. But you spell out just the consolidation of everything with the Ellison family in particular, CNN, TikTok, all the social media, the algorithms were all in the front row of the inauguration, right? So you can see where that's going. So what does that do to the, you talk about the safeguards and the checks and balances. If people get information from clearly partisan aligned fountains all the time, how do they know what is real, what is not real, and push back against what you're warning about here?
Look, I started a digital media company that, is not a moneymaker for me, it's simply because I know this is a huge problem. I started a show on PBS for the same reason. I figure I've got whatever it is, 7-8 million followers. I need to use that platform, or if my mother looking down at me would slap me silly. All of us need to care about that issue. We need more long form, more authenticity, more people that have voices that are willing to stand up so that younger people, so that people that don't know what to think, what to believe, have a place to turn, and also are willing to air those opinions and those voices themselves. Americans haven't suddenly become evil, but they do feel powerless and they do feel manipulated. And the wealthiest in the United States are not acting like caretakers for their fellow citizens. You get oligarchs and you get pitchforks in that environment.
Yeah. So just as a final point, here in Canada, obviously we've been very directly affected by the new priorities of this administration. It seeks to tear up trade rules and existing things that affect us economically and politically. When you look at this trajectory for 2026, you talk about CUSMA essentially becoming a zombie trade agreement, not getting finalized, just kind of hanging there, and everyone operating at the whims of the president. What do you think this means for Canada over the next 12 months?
Canada clearly is in a more vulnerable position than, say, the Japanese and the South Koreans because of the extraordinary trade interdependence, because of the tourism, because of the cultural alignment. And it's painful. It's painful to see. It's painful to see Canadians say, we don't want to come to the United States. We don't want our kids studying in the United States. It's painful to think about unwinding even a small amount of that trade towards other parts of the world that haven't been as aligned and trusted. And yet that's precisely what the Canadians are increasingly going to do. This is leading countries to defend themselves and to hedge. And almost every friend of the United States is looking at the U.S. and saying today, we no longer believe that we can rely on the Americans long term. And that makes us long term make some painful strategic choices.
Ian Bremmer, always appreciate the chat. I don't know if I feel good when they're over, but I do appreciate them. Ian Bremmer is the president of the Eurasia Group. Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you again.
My pleasure.